Hey everyone, well, welcome back to episode 12 of Keep the Community Fed podcast. I can't believe it's episode
A
12. I
year.
know. And I'm one of your hosts, Carmen Smith, Executive Director of White Center Food Bank, accompanied by,
I'm Gabby Gonzales, the co-chair or the co-chair for the White Center Food Bank Board and the co-host for this podcast.
yes. And then behind the scenes, making this all happen, we've got Jefferson Rose,
Hey, hey, episode 12, let's go.
our development and communications director, who's also sound production, and then the fantastical Randy Wynn, our marketing and community engagement coordinator, doing video
Hello.
production. And we are really excited to kind of culminate season 1 of Keep the Community Fed podcast with our very own council member, Teresa Mosqueda, who has been a longtime advocate for working families, ensuring that their basic needs are met, a big supporter of White Center and White Center Food Bank, securing $477,000
Woohoo!
for us this
Yes,
year.
that's exactly
Huge
right.
deal. And you bring so much energy to what you do, and it's very obvious that you take your role to heart. And we're so honored, and glad to have you as our guest today.
I'm so excited to be
Yeah,
here. Thank you for having
welcome.
me.
Does anybody else want to say really nice things about
This
council
is the
member?
best podcast ever. Love this. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to brag, but I think we have a lot in common.
Oh, yeah.
We both identify as Chicanas.
That's right.
We both have Polish heritage
That
as
is
well.
true. Yes.
I just listened, I don't want to say that I studied, but I listened to one interview on my
Yeah.
way over here
Love
from
that.
2018. But yeah, and one of the things that I really liked that you shared, I love your political views, but one of the specific things that you shared is how you can't succeed in one justice, right? Like health justice, until all the other justices are met as well. And that's like the good word that I preach out, whether it's in my day job or here, is that it takes everything. And then one is achieved, like the others are achieved as well. So we all just need to figure out what our kind of focus is, and together we will make it possible.
Well, I love that. I love hearing about what we have in common. Yes, on my mom's side, it's Polish, Swedish, and Norwegian. And my dad's side is Mexican American. He's second generation, so I'm third. Happy Mexican American
Yes.
Independence celebration. El Grito, we just celebrated that this weekend. And to everybody who celebrates in Mexico and here, it's exciting to see that Independence Day celebrated this week. We have a proclamation in King County coming up to celebrate Mexican independence week. And we also are just celebrating Fiestas Patrias. Generally, it's really exciting to see the Latino community, the Chicano community coming forward, and recognizing right now is especially the time when we need to express our pride about being Latina, Latinx, Chicano, and making sure people know we're not going to hide. We are not going to hide our pride. We are going to stand united, and we're going to fight against this administration from the federal level on down to make sure people know that we're here, that we help build this country, and to this day, we help ensure that people's needs are met, like you all are doing here at the White Center Food Bank. So I'm so excited about that. And I was going to tell you, my middle name's Carmen, so we got that
Love
in common too.
that. um, Jefferson and or Randy, do you want to say anything?
Well, Teresa, thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor to have you with us for our last episode of our season 1. It's really amazing, and been a big fan as a Seattle resident when you're on council, and just kind of watching you grow I'm curious to know what maybe might come next for you. And yeah, we're just really excited to have you here today.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thanks for being there from the beginning of this King County journey. I was mentioning, Carmen and I were talking about how the night that the food bank opened, it was kind of this nice handoff between former council member Joe McDermott and myself. We were both able to attend the opening. And I think that was like the week I started in this new role.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really exciting to be back here, and congratulations on your year of this podcast, but all that you've done in the community. People talk about this being really a point of pride here in White Center, and you all made that possible. The community, again, speaking of the community, turn out on October 10th because there's going to be a dinner and an
Yeah,
auction. So we
Yes.
need you. White Center Dinner and Auction, cultivating community. So turn out, people, and turn up the volume, and let's get those dollars up for the food bank.
yeah, that grand opening was such a new beginning on so many different levels. It was so nice that you were able to be there and you've seen it from almost the beginning.
And that was
Yeah.
before all of these cuts and threats and layers of intimidation from the federal level and people's literal, as you mentioned, safety net, the security, the injustices that we've been trying to fight over the decades. We have put those into place over the decades. And now within just a year, half a year of this
Yeah.
federal administration, we're seeing all these protections for food security being eroded. So your work is just ever more important. That's why I'm so proud to work with you all and to just support you all in any way we can and keep getting the word out so that we can do more.
Yeah, the real consequences that are showing up in people's grocery bags.
Yes. You were
Yeah,
gonna
I was
hop
gonna
on the
say,
mic.
Teresa, thank you so much for always being present in the community. I know you attended a few of the White Center Business Alliance meetings, and just having a like physical presence and really advocating for the community in White Center is a huge impact. And I've heard a lot of great things from White Center businesses, and so I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Amazing. Thank you. And huge shout out to our team too. I know Chris Lampkin, Deputy Director and Deputy Chief of Staff in our office. He attends those monthly. And Aaron House, who's been out here working on the comprehensive plan and the parks levy. Melanie Cray, by the way, is our senior policy advisor who's been working on a policy specific for White Center, which maybe we can talk a little bit about.
Cool.
We're calling it vacant to vibrant to try to do more to activate some of the empty spaces that we see out there, and really wanting to not just see a business come in. Like, I don't want CVS coming in. I want local businesses that help promote the local economy, keep the dollars here, support working families, that to be part of what we're investing in, while we also continue to support the creative industry, the arts and culture that White Center is so known for, and to make sure that it's walkable, livable, thrivable. And we're going to get you those white lights up and down the street that everybody's been talking about to really light up the street, the corridor just right out here
Yeah.
behind us. Make sure that people get out there and can enjoy the music and arts and food and walk safely here to the food bank. This is going to happen, guys. We're going to make it happen. But your advocacy has been super helpful. And that was actually a product of the collective interest in White Center, where they said, from the participatory budgeting outcomes, we want there to be white lights that string across the downtown core here in White Center. So let's make it happen. We'll all celebrate when it does.
How cool. And I love how it's called vacant to vibrant because that's so much of the White Center Food Bank story, particularly with this building too.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember, but
Tell
it
me,
was
tell me. I want to hear about it. Your listeners do too.
I think we've talked about it, I'm sure, with our listener
We do like to
on a
tell the
past.
story of this building.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. But we tend to talk about the same things a couple of times on the podcast anyway. But this building for many years was a tortilla factory. And then as the owner of the tortilla factory got older, he sold the business, but he still owned the building and it was vacant for a while until he could find a new tenant. But he as him and his wife were looking at retirement, they kind of just wanted to part ways with the building, but it because it was vacant, it had attracted a lot of interest from, folks, and so it was just a lot of upkeep. But driving down 16th, this whole block was just vacant, a little desolate, kind of like forgotten about part of the downtown White Center core. And, when we purchased the building, we were really excited to, as Jefferson says, like breathe new life into this block. And that's kind of what happened. Now there's another space that's been purchased by community across the street. That's going to be like co-working space. So it's been really fun to be here for almost 2 years now and see just how much more vibrant this section of downtown has become.
That's amazing, and similar to the, the location for the old Bartels. I'm so thankful to hear that there is something in the works that hopefully will bring more healthy food into the region as well. So hopefully that'll be announced soon. But that was a location that we continue to get calls about, and it's like we don't want to just put up fences. What we want to
Right,
do is create a healthy community, a healthy environment. How do we create pop ups or more lighting that encourages healthy and productive behavior versus just fencing something off again,
right.
which is just another eyesore? And so the concept, just like you said, across the street, having community come into a space that was vacant and turn it into something that really has roots here is so exciting. And so thankful for the property owners that have been trying to bring more properties online due to the targeted arson that occurred just up the street as well.
Yeah.
And we also know that this is a really tough time for businesses, right? You have unpredictability with the tariffs, thanks to the Trump
Mm-hmm.
administration, and the cost of everything has increased. Obviously, you know that well, having, seen people on a daily basis coming to the food bank, just the cost of everything has escalated
Yeah.
so much. So if there's something that the county can do to step in and make it so that those vacant spaces can be activated, even if in a short term for like arts and cultural pop-ups, an art show from Napantla or something like that to
Yeah.
bring in more of their incredible Chicano art and have some more folks take over that space and just have it even be just temporarily activated. That can keep it on a rolling basis, becoming more of an asset to the community. And then that gives the property owners a little bit more time to find permanent owners as we activate it and create a real asset to the community. So that's kind of the vision. And thanks again to the White Center Business Alliance, who's helped provide feedback on that, Department of Local Services, and to Melanie, again, from my office, who's really been doing research on what have we seen in other jurisdictions,
Mm.
especially in the wake of the pandemic, that allow for that space to be activated. But really, this one is going to have its deep roots in what White Center wants. And that's why we're specifically calling it a White Center pilot vacant to vibrant.
Yeah, this reminds me of the conversation. So in June for Pride, we had Elliot, who's the president of White Center Pride. Yeah, he's amazing on. And we talked about intentionally activating the downtown corridor. And then we also, was it for the Taste of White Center month? We had Theory, the artist. Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
Teary.
Thierry, the artist who did the Taste of White Center art, and we were talking about what it means to be from this particular neighborhood and area of King County, and have it like gentrifying, but then and have that like have layers around that, right? Like some layers be good because it feels safer, but then some layers be scary because what does it mean to lose all the culture, the race and culture diversity that we have in this area? And so I really like hearing about how like intentional growth, like we know we need to grow, we know we need more housing, but what does intentional growth look like?
Yeah, that's excellent. And that reminds me of some of the things that we've been pushing for, as well as we've thought about not just the comprehensive plan, but more recently with some of the impact fees that were being considered. Yes, we want to encourage the creation of additional housing units, whether it's in multifamily, missing middle housing like duplexes, triplexes, small apartment
Mm.
buildings, what have you. But what we really need are 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units.
Yeah.
We
Mm-hmm.
need that so desperately. It is like almost impossible to find an affordable 2, 3, or 4 bedroom unit. And we've done a pretty good job of trying to encourage the creation of 1 bedrooms and studios, but that's not sufficient for creating the opportunity for folks to keep their families in cultural hubs like White Center and allow people to have intergenerational housing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I would love to be able to see more of those multi-generational housing opportunities be brought online. And that really then drives people to go to local schools. It drives the local economy. It gets workers around here. And imagine if we had the white lighting where people then could walk back and forth to
Yeah.
work, right? And really feel like this is a place that's a walkable, livable, thriving community, especially now that we have the H line and
Yeah.
more bus options, get people out of their cars and really make it an accessible living opportunity right here. That's the dream.
I love that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm so excited.
I want to give listeners an opportunity to get to know you.
Great.
So, wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, like, whatever that means for you, and share, yeah, your background, your history, like how you even got into politics, or I don't know if is that a
Yeah.
dirty term,
No.
politics.
We're reclaiming it. We're
Yeah.
reclaiming the whole area.
Taking politics back.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, and thank you again for the opportunity to be here. And apologies if some folks have already heard this, but it goes back to what you were saying. I mean, I got my career start, I guess, right out of undergrad at the University of Washington here in District 8. Worked at CMAR Community Health Centers down the hill. Ran a program called Senior Information Assistance, which is all about food security and access to housing and healthcare. Literally, the program had 7 folks who would go out and make sure that elders had a place to eat lunch on a weekly basis in their community. And then once you get people there to have healthy food, you bring in intergenerational programming, arts and culture, dance opportunities, exercise opportunities. That's fueling not just your stomach, not just feeding your body, but feeding your mind, fueling the mental health as well as the physical health of our community. And this was largely for elder Spanish speaking members of the community. And it was really an incredible program that they continue to run today. I will ever be forever grateful for CIMAR, speaking of Chicanos, the mentality that the folks like Rogelio Riojas had to say our community is not being served. They're not being served in their language. They're not being served in a culturally competent way. And frankly, they're just also not being served because it was so unaffordable and not accessible. So, right here in White Center, we also have the CMAR facility that is going to be next to the new opportunity that will make itself available where the old Bartels was, right next to the H line. They continue to serve our community. And while I was there, you see every day folks coming in who were seniors at what should be their retirement age, still working 2 and 3 jobs. And you realize, as much as we're trying to make sure that folks have access to food and get enrolled in medical assistance if they're eligible and help them find housing, if we don't do something upstream to focus on economic security and ensure that everybody in this country has access to retirement security, we are failing our elders. And so that kind of drove me to want to do more, yes, in the health arena, but also in the public policy arena. What else can we do upstream to actually make sure that there's economic stability? So after I worked at CMAR, I got my master's in public administration, focused on health policy. Worked for the Department of Health at the state level, where it was very similar, right? Trying to focus on what the built environment is. How do you help kiddos have access to healthy food in school by switching out the unhealthy options in their vending machine or making sure that they have a walkable sidewalk to get to school? Like, what are the policies that we can take on that just promote public health in a way that just changes norms? You don't think about the healthy activity you're doing because the environment just encourages you to walk or bike, have access to those healthy foods. And so, as I worked in that arena, I continued to see working families who, we're trying to do everything right. But if they don't have good living wage jobs, if they don't have access to sick leave, if they're, working under either stressful people or under toxic people and working in toxic environments, then that economic security is not there. That mental health stress is constantly there. And we see how that erodes people's physical health too when they're just in chronic poverty or they're chronically stressed about how they're going to make ends meet. And so now I hope you see like where the connection is from working on health policies directly came to then working in the labor movement, because I thought, if we want to do something about folks' economic security and really fight the social determinants of health, fight for the social determinants of health, the best thing that we can do is work upstream and make sure that everybody has access to a good union job, has a good living wage, has retirement security, has the ability to speak up if they see something at work that's not safe, and the ability to organize their workplace and give them self-determination. And that actually improves our health. The entire population's health actually improves when we have greater equity, when we see fewer people who have the very few people at the top having the most wealth and most of us not having it at the bottom. Countries that have the least wealth inequality have the best health outcomes, and they can have high rates of smoking and high rates of use of other substances like what we see, for example, in other similarly situated economies across the globe. But if they have a small gap between the very rich and the very poor, their health outcomes are better. So for me, that's sort of what it comes back to. How do we fight for greater economic justice? And in addressing wealth inequality, we're also addressing health inequities. And that's really kind of what fuels me. So that's how I sort of got my start in trying to make these connective tissues between the public policies that we fight for greater economic stability and economic justice, and how I think it continues to impact our health.
How has your time in public service changed or shaped your motivation for public service,
Mm.
if at all?
Well, let's see here. I think that it is so important for folks to recognize that the experience that we have living in community, fighting for more representation and direct investments in the community. We talked about like where there's been a lack of investments, whether it's in sidewalks or roads or in small business assistance or helping working families. Like we have that experience. That experience needs to be in these halls, whether it's in City Hall or at the county council chambers or in the halls of Olympia as our state legislators. Like we have that experience. And so I think what's been helpful for me in these roles, and now it's almost 8 years, is to continue to encourage other people to see themselves in positions like this, because there's no one additional thing that you need on your resume that makes you more qualified than somebody else. You're qualified now. If you see injustices and you want to fight against those injustices, people need your voice in office. And that's especially true for women. That's especially true for folks of color. And I'm really proud that we've been able to push the envelope on so many things. Like if you look at what we've accomplished in 6 years at the city of Seattle, we didn't get into those seats. I say we because it's we, the community, right?
Yes.
We, our office, everybody who helped to make these policies possible. We did not get in there and wait for the next election and, wring our hands and say, gee, I hope that people will bring me back again. No, we got in there and showed people that when you put somebody who has the interest in representing community in those rooms, we will bring in community and push against the status quo. That is why we got there. And so I think we had a record number of policies that we passed, especially for working families, like you mentioned, really trying to work on social justice and inequities. And the same is true now in King County. We are about to pass our 5th policy in 3 weeks in this month in September. And I'm really proud of what we've been able to do this year and last year. And I'm not waiting for that next election and just kind of trying to see if I just keep my head down, maybe they'll keep me. No, I'm here to do something. I'm here to get things done, and that's what I hope folks have seen. But yeah, if anything, I think it's just been affirming to have the last 2 elections, re-elections, continue to go in our favor, and I think that that's telling. People wanted to see action, 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 and that's hopefully what we've delivered.
So I've heard you talk a little bit about like being the first. Are you the first Latina or Chicana county councilwoman?
Mhm.
Yeah. So who did you see that helped you believe that you could do
Mm.
this?
Well, so first, King County is made up of a population that is half folks of color and a quarter immigrants and refugees, right? That is a huge swath of the King County community that we represent, that the King County representatives take an oath to ensure their voices are being heard. Councilmember Jorge Baron and myself are the first Latinos ever to serve on King County. And it's very much time, right? If that's the representation that we are supposed to be bringing into our offices to represent the members of King County, that is absolutely time for us to have greater diversity on King County. So I'm really proud of that. Specifically, District 8, where we sit, right? It has a higher number of Latino community members than other districts. So we have 14% of the population here in District 8 is made up of the Latinx community. And I think in King County, generally, it's about 10 to 11%. So that's exciting to be in those roles. And I think that, my dad, who is a professor emeritus now at Evergreen State College, he teaches classes on Politics in American Society, Power in American Society, Media and Politics, Chomsky, and a number of other political economy classes. And he would repeatedly be like, "When are you going to run for office? When are you going to run for office?" And then I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And then when I started lobbying, speaking of a term we need to take back, when became a lobbyist, and I think people should recognize that lobbying is a critical tool for us to have as advocates in community, because we all can't be there 100% of the time. So to the degree that we have lobbyists who are representing advocates for food bank, lobbyists for the labor community, lobbyists for immigrant rights, that's so critical to have those paid positions there. I became a lobbyist, and a lot of the legislators were like, "So when are you running?" And I was like, "No, no, no, no." But really, it is community continuing to say, "When are you going to run? When are you going to run?" And then when this seat came open in King County, folks called. When the seat came open in Seattle, folks called. So answer your phone when people call you. And you also don't have to wait, right? You don't have to wait to be called. If you're ready, like step up. There's lots of folks who are ready to help you get in those roles. Maybe that inspired someone. I'll give you one more stat.
Yeah.
So there is a statistic that says that specifically folks who identify as female, identify as women, they need to be asked 8 times to consider running for office before they even consider it. Not before they get to yes, right? Before they stop saying no. And that is a stat that we should really think about when we see people like yourselves who potentially are like, maybe one day, I don't know. But like, let's keep asking folks that we see out there in community, because nobody's more qualified than some of us. So let's get in there.
Yeah, when you just think about like the amount that like women step back instead of forward just because that's what's like normalized in community, and then you add like the extra barriers, like are you disabled, are you a woman of color, like are you trans woman, like all of these things just make like the world kind of seem so big and hard to tackle. And so I definitely think that we all need to serve as taillights for the next person to follow.
Yeah. And I think over the last, I don't know, maybe 9 to 10 years, we have seen more of that, right? When I ran in 2016, it was during the ongoing Me Too movement. We saw record numbers of women specifically, and folks of color and women of color step up to run for office, especially in the wake of Trump's first election. And I think that that's continued to gain momentum, right? You have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC in New York, that didn't say, when is it my time? She didn't wait in line to run, right? And you see that same thing happening with Mondani in New York as well. Like, people aren't waiting their turn. And I think that as we've seen more community members, more advocates for social justice get into these positions and shake up the status quo, hopefully that inspires other people to say, yeah, okay, I'm ready. I can do this. And I think that that's a really positive thing. Now, it's tragic that, we find ourselves back in a national situation where Trump yet again is in office, but to the degree that we see local governments, local jurisdictions stepping up and being that last line of defense and really trying to figure out how to advance social justice and not kowtow to strategies around intimidation and fear mongering that the federal government is doing. That's exactly what we need right now. We also have to be honest with folks, right? There's no way that locally or even at the state of Washington that those jurisdictions can step up and step in at the level of funding that we were receiving for things like food banks and food security before. So we have to keep fighting to change that nonsense in DC while we demand more defense.
So I'm curious how you, as a woman of color, a wife, a mother, holding so much, a public servant, like how do you find time for yourself and how do you rest?
Oh, well, that's so sweet. Thank you. I need a little bit more these days. Well, first, I'm gonna give a shout out to my husband. He probably uh, you know, deserves more than just a shout out, but really he's like a rock star, and we have such awesome opportunities, I think, to be in community and to be here on an evening like this because I have an incredible partner. And so to my husband, Manuel, who takes care of our daughter, Camila, as well, and is just very supportive, that's part of it. I think also being in community is part of how we refuel, right? I think at the end of a long day when you're on the emails or on the Zooms or even just in a long committee meeting, it's sometimes it's actually refueling to go to these events and go and talk to folks in community, just like it is if you're doorbelling as a candidate. It actually fuels why you're out there doing this work. So it is a balance because you can't. You can't overcommit yourself, but really having these discussions about the why reminds you, reminds the team, reminds I think the community, like what it is that you're doing. And then also you get more ideas. You're like, okay, great. I'm going to work on that next. I'm going to work on that next. So it's pretty, I think it's a balance that way too. And, yeah, there's so many pressures right now, especially with what we see at the federal level. We can't take our foot off the go pedal. We got to keep going and we got to keep fighting. That's why I think it's so important that we're doing these policies to do protection this year, as well as thinking about what's the offensive strategy. What are things that we can do that really push the envelope? How can we protect our local community, and also play defense when we see federal protections being eroded?
What do you do for fun?
Ooh, okay.
Should we drop the word e-bike?
Yeah,
E-bike.
right. Oh, well, I very much enjoy getting places on the e-bike. We just got that at the beginning of this year, and so that's been a lot of fun. I mean, I used to play soccer. Councilmember Jorge Barron still plays soccer like times a week. I went to play with him in Delridge a few weeks ago, and I like had to sub out with 20 minutes left in the game. I was like, I cannot play. So that was a little rough. I go to Olympia often to see my parents. They're both still in Olympia, and so that's always refueling too to see family and we love so much the summers here in Seattle, and you can find me most days at Alki Beach. If it's a sunny day, that's really where we go to refuel, and go in the water as well.
Are you a cold plunger?
I'm not. I am not a cold plunger. I am a floaty lover, so I will get
Okay.
in the water on a floaty.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like something about cold water.
Yeah. No. 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 But I'm gonna try. I told Councilmember Barron I'm gonna get back there. I'm gonna start playing with him. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get an update in Teresa Tuesdays.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You on the field.
Well, this is a little bit of a turn, but I wanted to point out that leaders look like different ways. Like women leaders look different ways. Oh, any leader. I shouldn't like preface it with women, but um I am going to shout out a little bit of praise to Carmen. She's so amazing, and I've learned so much from her as the leader for this organization. What year did you join?
I started in 2017.
So Carmen and I have been together for a while, like 6 years, maybe 7 years by now. And we've really from another building and another organization model. Our strategic plan is based in anti-racism and like transitions on the board and growing like the staff by double question mark. Like it's been like a whole journey, maybe not that many, but like
Almost.
like a huge increase. And I have learned so much from you and your leadership as a Filipina and as a woman. I think I'm slightly older than Carmen, but I still follow it in your tail lights. Like I think that running like for government isn't for everybody, and leadership looks a lot of ways, and we're all like this polka dot like throughout the county of like folks that are all like working in our buildings, in our communities, in our neighborhoods to like progress towards the outcomes that we're looking for. And so yeah, I mean, if you don't want to run for office, like
Great point.
nonprofits are a great place. Government, like on like the actual staff level, is a great place to invest time too. I mean, there's so many different ways: starting your own business, being an artist, putting up public art, creating a downtown event in a small area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's such a good point because when folks do get into those positions, right? A lot of times you see electives burn out.
Mm.
It gets
Mhm.
I think to be overwhelming. But the way I think that we've helped to sustain ourselves in these positions is to have this kind of co-governance model where we pull together roundtables. I know you participated in some of those. And when we look at human services, there's a roundtable. There was a food security roundtable that we should bring back. There was an immigration roundtable, a labor roundtable. Like, this is what it should look like to actually hear what is happening and what do people need, and then that informs your policy, not the reverse, right? So
Yeah.
that is why I think you're so right about that, including on the board. So thank you for your leadership. And where I think we've been able to make some inroads is because of this co-governance sort of approach.
For sure. And that's a similar model that we practice here at the food bank too, recognizing like, you know, me and Jefferson and Gabby don't have all the answers, but it's the folks that come in here, or maybe the folks that don't come in here and why they're not coming here, like folks that are living the real lives and like whose lives our work most impacts. And so we've started doing our trusted messenger sessions similarly. And Randy's actually leading that work for us to help inform our programming because, right, like we were talking about earlier, like everything is so interconnected. You can't have one justice without the other justice. And so this trusted messenger program gives the community the opportunity to tell White Center Food Bank, like, yes, I need food, but like, here are some other things upstream that we just really need help navigating. And us as a larger organization can help pull in our resources and either create programming or connect with our council member to find out ways that we can get people plugged in so they can thrive.
And can I ask, you probably are going to share this at the gala October 10th, everybody, if you haven't
You're
already
so good
signed
at
up.
I
promoting.
know.
The White Center Food Bank dinner and gala. You got to get your tickets. But you'll probably share some of this at that gala. But can you talk a little bit about what you've seen or heard from some of the patrons here, especially as they've seen some of the threats at the national level start to go into action with the food insecurity rising or anything like that?
Do you remember, Randy? I think, well, while you marinate on that, I think kind of like the biggest like emerging thing that we're seeing and that we're hearing from folks is like a real concern about ICE presence in White Center. And so us as a staff team have trained ourselves on like what to do if those instances happen. And then there was a rumor that ICE was here at the food bank when it was a couple blocks down actually, and then recently they had I don't know where they ended up, but they were around in White Center. And so making sure that families know that they can come here, like we're trained, we know exactly what to do when they come. We're not sharing anybody's information with ICE agents. We know that they need a judicial warrant. We know what that looks like. And we want people to know this is still going to be a safe space. We're still going to put them first in those instances. And so that has kind of been the biggest thing on our mind. And then, yes, of course, like, you know, the cuts, I mean, when the USDA had those large cuts in March, like we saw that happen immediately. So we lost a lot of our shelf stable food and it was like a little bare in here and it was like concerning. But luckily, through some City of Seattle funding, we're able to purchase produce, and that's kind of the highest priority for families when they come here is produce and meat and eggs, which eggs have been challenging this year. I know that. But Brandy, did you wanna share some findings from that trusted messenger session?
Yeah. So our first session was with the White Center CDA, and we were able to talk with their staff and ask certain questions about what changes or feedback that we can implement with the food bank. And a lot of it was, whether that was like, how can the food bank have more like educational purposes? Like, how do we, like, we serve food and distribution, but how can we advocate, like, how do we use those produce to cook a meal, or how do we use canned goods to cook a meal at home? So maybe like using that as a change to like kind of encourage customers to shop at the food bank, but also bring home recipes and how they can cook the food. We also
Yeah.
had feedback on, um, I believe it was like different, like other food resources, like
Oh,
cooking items and
yeah, so somebody had brought up like, maybe having a stipend or being able to supply cooking utensils
yeah.
or equipment or, I think we even maybe talked about like a little kitchen library sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like maybe you wanted to use an instant pot for a recipe or something, or try it out before you buy one. Like having a place to check out that item and test it. And then I'm remembering now, there was a lot of discussion around folks like, just the busyness that we all kind of feel in having to just like eliminate some of that around like meal planning. Like, what if we just came to the food bank and like the food bank kind of had like a couple of meals like planned for us already? So it takes out kind of that extra, um, emotional or mental labor that a lot of families, parents are having to navigate on top of working maybe 2 or 3 jobs. It's already
Yeah.
figured out, that piece of the puzzle is figured out for them a little bit.
And off of that, we heard to what Carmen said, like there's families who can't access the food bank during distribution hours. So like maybe having like one day of after hours after like 6 p.m. distribution. So
Something that came up that maybe would be of interest is doing some sort of like white center specific farmers market and around like cultural heritage. So somebody had mentioned like a specific Mexican bread vendor, like being able to do a pop up and like being able to be a little bit more connected to those cultural foods here in White Center that they maybe aren't able to access otherwise.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe we can fold something like that into the vacant to vibrant too, as like we open up little pockets, having pop-ups around it too to celebrate. Something like that would be cool. And I think as we think about the upcoming budgets for King County specifically, thinking about how that um, supply library or the pop-ups for farmers market could be possible. It just feels like that is the energy that you've been hearing that you need. So we got to put it into action. I love
Yeah.
hearing these ideas.
Yeah.
It just happened. See, I got
Yeah,
inspired.
well, right, and like that's, also displays the importance of community
Yeah.
voice because
Mhm.
like there's so much talent and great ideas out there. It's just people don't have a seat at the table. They don't have a voice oftentimes. So that's why it's so important to talk to community because they're brilliant, right? They come up with these amazing ideas that I wouldn't have thought of.
It's so true. And also then they have the resources and the motivation and all they just need is either the authority, like the permit to make it happen and not additional barriers or additional costs, and then resources. Like, is there anything else that we can do to support it? So let's do that. I love that.
So I'm curious, like we've seen such a shift in how King County has supported White Center specifically, right? Like being in an unincorporated King County, this area has suffered from intentional disinvestment for decades, and now we're kind of seeing this resurgence of um, support and interest on the county level. We're so curious what the catalyst is for that or was for that. Was it you?
Well, I think that it's exciting that Councilmember Joe McDermott was here on council when you opened, so I know he had a lot of interest in this as well and supportive. I think that there was a lot of interest, as I understand, to make sure that there was direct investment, especially after the targeted arson occurred. I mean, that's like the heart of White Center, and to have that happen is not only horrific, but it's tragic and needed, repair immediately. I'm thankful for the the building owners who have brought it back online. And so the concept around vacant to vibrant is kind of in conversation with them too, because it's really hard to find tenants right now, people who are ready and able to start a business in this climate. So what are the things that we can do to support the activation, especially with so many unknowns at the federal level? So I appreciate you saying that. I think one of the things though that I've been most proud of in terms of direct investments in White Center has been with the comprehensive plan conversations that we've had, really trying to think about exactly what we were talking about earlier. How do we not just build, but build with intention to ensure that it's working families, it's small businesses, it's rooted in community, and it's through the eyes of what community wants to see when we think about where we're growing up and how we're utilizing some of the airspace. So how do we reduce the costs and also ensure that we can encourage people to build the housing that we're seeing and going down the street here, or supporting the small businesses around the area. So I'm excited about some of the things that we've done to try to encourage the 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms, the small business sizes, so that you don't have a CVS coming in, and instead you have, more spaces that are rooted here in community that could be the next tenants of those buildings. And then in addition to that, like fun. What can we do to ensure that it's a thriving, healthy community? So we have, and we can post this online too. There's a summary of all of the investments that we've helped to make through the Parks Levy, which thank you to the voters for your overwhelming support. Something like 70% of voters supported the Parks Levy, but
Wow.
we were
I did.
really
I
specific.
did too.
Yay, thank you. We were really specifically calling out what investments we wanted to see in an unincorporated areas like White Center, in Skyway, for example. I wanted residents to be able to say, what is in it for me? If you're asking me for a property tax increase, what will I see here in unincorporated? And that's where we're so thrilled that we've invested more funding into, for example, what will one day be a water park, a water feature at a Steve Cox Park. I want there to be
Families
one.
love a water
I know.
feature.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be so fun? So I know that it's been contemplated for years, but really I'm telling folks, like, it doesn't have to be like a massive water park. Just give some place for kiddos to run, for people of all ages, frankly, because on those hot days, it is such a climate resilience tool. I know
Yes.
that I'm using like weird terms, right? But that is how we are going to cool down our community. That's how we keep kiddos healthy and safe, and family members, giving them a place to go on hot days like that. So that's one of the things that we prioritized here for White Center. Speaking of climate resilience, we want trees, trees, trees. So we've added
Yes.
additional funding for planting of trees, especially around 16th and a few of the blocks out in radius as well. We want there to be trees planted. That is good for shade. It is good for reducing the temperature. It is a climate resilient strategy, especially when we see what is it called? Over cementing, overuse of like paved parking lots and paved streets. We need to be adding more trees. And then in addition to that, we want there to be a covered play area here. I mean, I got a 6-year-old, right? When it's raining, there's very few places to take her outside to play. We live in a place that doesn't have a backyard, right? And so I want her to be able to go to a safe place to play. And I'd love for there to be a covered play area around this area. And as well, we added that for Vashon. And really directing the department to move forward with some of the climate resilient strategies, I think is a complementary of our efforts to just get people out of the house and out of their cars, and really thinking about how we reduce carbon emissions and help improve the planet that way. So there's funding for the Evergreen Pool. I know a lot of residents use the Evergreen Pool. We also want to have a conversation with the pool about how do we prioritize local schools so that there's more direct access for some of the local school kiddos to be able to use that facility. But we've helped to ensure that they no longer have an operational deficit, and that we can keep that pool open and make some adjustments. In addition to parks, we have direct investments in White Center for more pocket parks around the downtown core here, so that there's just more green space. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And I mean, I think, in addition to the direct investments, wanting to just support the local businesses too. I mean, you see White Center, I'm sure you guys see lots of posts and appreciation from direct people and people online who are talking about how White Center is one of the last cultural hubs in the region, right? It's got music venues, it's got art venues, it's got great small restaurants, and really just doing everything we can to promote the environment around those areas, as well as direct investments in arts and culture, like you said. And some of the investments in White Center have come from a new levy that came into effect right as I was coming in, so I don't know if I can take credit, but I appreciate the coincidence and the timing. But the For Culture levy, right, Open
Yeah.
Doors, it really has been a direct investment to some of our what do they call it? Creative industry partners, to make sure that people can keep their doors open, and just support artists directly too.
I kid, but McDermott, I mean, he got us $2 million
That's
for this
amazing.
building. Like,
Yes.
huge shout out to
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Um, so today, you know, I'm trying to be better about getting outside during my work day because, right, for my own
Just
health.
spilled all over myself
That's
here.
okay. It's not
I
the first
do.
episode that somebody
Okay,
spilled
great.
water.
I do that all the
Water park right over
time.
here.
We just keep moving through it.
Okay, great.
But I walked through that little park that is just over here that connects Steve Cox to those that apartment complex up there, and I was just like, it's short, but I was like, this is perfect, right?
Yeah, and they a shout out to Steve Cox Park, also the park employees there. Darlene, I think she's been there for
She's amazing.
decades, right? And she's
Yes.
seen the Steve Cox go through its kind of growth, but they said, we see so many families just trying to get between the apartments and the park. Let's take out a portion of the fence so that we can just allow for people to have this walkability. So that's like one small thing that the county can do to encourage like connectivity. And as you saw, they walk right by
Yeah.
the path that goes right by a pea patch there that they open up for youth to be able to do planting there. And I think it's just a great way to ensure people are out with their hands in the dirt and growing things, and that also is good for people's mental health.
One of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I think it's kind of a through line through this episode, is that everybody is the expert in their own lives, and we don't
Mhm.
need to like hand down or hand over or hand up to them. We just like it's so easy as to like provide an opening and a fence, and
Right.
that like gives people what they want, or a green space. Like people know how they want to enjoy outdoor spaces. People know what they want to eat. They just need like the door open. They just need like access, and then they can serve as that like expert for themselves and thrive.
Yes, totally. And I think that as local government or administrators, right, what I constantly am asking is, how can we get to yes? Because I understand the policies that are in place, and I understand maybe that's not what we currently do. But what do we need to do to get to yes? Like, what are the restraints that we have, and how can we find resources to get around those so that the community's ask can be honored? And so I like what you just said. I'm going to bring that up in some conversations.
Do it.
I'm hearing a lot of parallels to the food bank story as we're having this conversation, and even around this building. Like, I'm maybe in my feels a little bit because have we announced it yet? The
Jefferson has no idea what you're talking about.
the press release for the Capitol campaign. Okay, okay. I'm like, am I spilling the beans too early? But maybe I'm trying to reflect on just that whole process because now we're at a place where we've closed the Capitol campaign. We paid off this building, right? I told you about that earlier, but um it was such a journey, and it was a lot of like, okay, how can we get to yes? Like, I understand like it's never been done this way before.
Right.
Like there's some policies in place, but like the community needs a food bank. I, you know, it kind of had to be in White Center. It'd be weird for White Center Food Bank to be in Burien, but we would have done it if we had to. And just trying to get people to recognize like this is something that the community needs. Like, I don't know what would happen to so many 12,000 families if the food bank wouldn't be able to have been open and open our doors. So, um,
Well, congratulations. That is huge. And I mean, what a sense of pride and to have that ownership and to be at this stage. So, congratulations to you. That's I hope a weight lifted.
I wish that we'd been able to tour you when we had just received this building. Like it
You got the before pictures?
we will show
Okay,
Yes,
you.
good.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the just like the dark and the light, the difference. Yeah, but it when you were saying that, Carmen, it makes me like the get to yes. And when you were saying get to yes, is it's like every step of the way to get to where we are today. It was like, oh, we want a bio building and this one's just for lease. Oh, this one doesn't work for some reason. Oh, this one's like roof is falling
Zoning,
in. Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
zoning, all these things. And we just kept like being like the board and Carmen, who we were all nobody had experience in capital campaigns. We were just like, okay, well, we'll try the next thing. We'll tour the next place. We'll figure it out. Like, and it all just like slowly came together over time.
That's amazing. And I would love to see those before and after pictures, and also sort of where you were able to make changes, especially in like the policy level at the county. You mentioned zoning, and I think that that has been something that we've been talking about over the last a year and a half. King County doesn't directly have control over zoning and permitting except for in unincorporated, and in partnership with the local services department, we've continued to try to say, okay, I understand this might not be the practice now, but we're asking for like creativity specifically around affordable housing and childcare. And in working with the department, and to their credit, they heard what we were asking for, and worked and worked administratively, and now have prioritized in their permitting affordable housing and childcare, because that is a critical need for the region. And when it comes to just building housing generally, and I was talking about the impact fees recently, right? Folks were saying, well, the impact fees aren't going to bring more housing online. Like that alone is not going to do it. You're right. That alone is not going to do it. But what are the tools that the county has that we should take responsibility for right now? Because there's things that are out of our control. Tariffs, the cost of materials, the general uneasiness that's out there. Let's do everything we can for the things that are in our control to act with urgency. So on zoning and permitting, and this goes to your listeners who might be dealing with these issues as well, either for their personal residents or the businesses and nonprofits that they work with. That's the kind of story that I want to hear, because we have tools and we should be acting with urgency around some of these things to bring, especially organizations that are providing uh, a patch to the safety net online faster. Let's do it. And thanks to the director, Director Richardson has been amazing at hearing some of those issues and figuring out as well ways to get to yes. So I appreciate him.
We didn't end up having to do any rezoning for this building specifically, but there was one building we were looking at and it was zoned as industrial, and it wasn't for sale. We were going to end up renting it, and the owner was hesitant, and I was like, I'll figure it out. But they didn't know me. And so they were like, that's not a good enough. That's not reassuring enough. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going somewhere else.
And you ended up in this most perfect spot,
Yes.
right on the corridor, easy access. And like if folks walk in, they've obviously been here if they're listening as well. But if you haven't, you got to come. And it's just so welcoming. It's so bright. It's beautiful. It's really, I think, a testament to the vision that you all had, and you made it possible. So
And there's improvements to be made. We'll be finishing putting up a mural on the rest of the building, so on the warehouse building, and then this little in between space too. Hopefully, I don't know, in the next month or so. We're trying to speed against the weather as much as possible, but and then eventually to want to get more art in this space. Something fun that we've been doing this year is participating in the Rat City Art Walk and hosting an artist for that,
Oh,
and
I
then
love that.
displaying their artwork on that back wall there. And so Jefferson and his team has been really great working with the artist, getting their art up, and then also just asking them to do a range of price points so that everybody who, comes through here can have access to art if they want it. And so that's been really fun. And we've had some pretty successful art displays. I'm thinking the Juneteenth one specifically, I think she sold almost all of her art that was displayed on the wall. So it's a really great way to, bring some PR for some local artists too that maybe wouldn't have been plugged into the White Center community, or maybe she was. I don't.
That's
Okay.
amazing. Okay, I was just looking at my notes here because at the Rat City Arts Walk, every third Thursday. So this week, it's happening.
Yeah, well, we're not participating this. So this month, we've declined to participate because most of our staff is going to a Washington Food Coalition
Oh
conference
yeah,
together.
that's great.
And then next month we're also not going to do it because we have 2 events already in
Yeah.
October.
But it's amazing that you have the art up and people get to see that when they come in as well, and just gives more of that sense of pride when you walk in. That's awesome.
Are we asking the what food makes you feel like
Oh
home
Lord.
question?
Yeah, of course.
Ask one question to every guest, no matter the month or the guest.
I did hear this.
Do you know what the question is?
Go ahead and ask me.
What food is it? What food makes you feel like home? What food feels like home? What
Any of the above.
Okay, so I saw that you did ask this, and it gave me like all the stress. Like you were saying, "Oh my God, I have to make dinner tonight." Because I huge credit to my husband; he is the chef of the house, and so when I have to cook, it kind of like deer in the headlight. So I was, for some reason I had that reaction. But I, what really makes me feel like reminds me of my parents is if we have the opportunity to have a salmon dinner because that is what my dad used to make a lot. So it's so nice because you can like I don't know. We have that connection here locally. You can get good fresh fish. Don't buy Atlantic fish. It's not a wild Atlantic. There's no such thing as wild Atlantic salmon. You gotta buy the real thing.
Mila would be so proud of you.
Sustainably fished.
Mila's my mom.
Oh, good. And so that I think is like my favorite home meal is just a big salad and salmon would be nice. I think it's so funny that you asked that question though because one of my first jobs was as an advocate was at the Children's Alliance. You know the Children's Alliance? They fight for food security for kiddos, for childcare, for healthcare, etc. But in the interview, I was like, this interview is going great. I think it's, I felt comfortable. And then they got to a question and they said, okay, our last question is, what meal would you bring to a potluck? And I just froze, like completely froze because I didn't have a great recipe in mind. So when you start doing the recipe classes, I will come. And also I said hot sauce.
Oh.
So that's where we started. And
Did-
then the whole way home, I was like, I said hot sauce. I can't believe I said hot sauce. I mean,
it
everybody
depends
needs
what
hot sauce.
kind of
I
hot
mean,
sauce.
it's true
yes,
because
yes.
like you don't want to. I mean, when you're at a place and there's no hot sauce, it's
I
it's so
usually do bring
disappointing.
chips and hot sauce, but I do have it. Like this is a special plug for my grandparents. They got out of intergenerational poverty by starting their own restaurant. It's called Tasty Tacos, Des Moines, Iowa, voted best Mexican restaurant every year.
Really?
Des Moines, Iowa, sadly not Des Moines, Washington. But if you ever are in the Midwest, go to Tasty Tacos, and it's kind of just a huge point of pride in our family. It's now on its third generation of owners. It went from my grandparents to my aunt, and now my cousin Jenny is the president there. But they just started selling their hot sauce bottled in their Kroger there, so you can buy it at the grocery store there. So I, of course, bring home a ton when I go to visit, and I'm going in 2 weeks, so I'll bring some back. I'll bring you some.
Yes.
I feel
Okay,
like
a
you need to
special
have, like,
feature
a
here.
bottle
right now.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
do this. And so if I go to a potluck, I do bring the Tasty Tacos hot sauce. So
'Cause
it's
you
a
have
little
to,
special.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
it
little
is
special.
special.
Yeah. But thanks for making me feel better about the hot sauce answer.
Well, I did ask you for a recipe for a recipe
Oh
book
gosh.
a while ago. I don't know if you remember this, and you were basically like, "No, but I hear Chris has."
I do remember that answer now. Again, Chris Lampkin's gonna love this podcast, but he does do a mean barbecue. So that is probably what I was referring to. I hope he sent you one.
He hasn't yet, but I'll
Plug
follow
for
up
yeah,
with
there we
him.
go.
I've
There
got to follow up with him anyway.
Well, I instead of maybe sending you a recipe, I could send you a link to the hot sauce for Tasty Tacos, and everybody will know how to get it.
Yeah,
There we go.
you have to take a picture with the hot
I
sauce.
will,
though.
and I will see. Let me see what I can do. I'd love to bring back some and have it here for your customers as well, and maybe
Oh,
we can
that
have
would
that
be
as
so
an option.
fun.
Yeah, that'd be good. And when I get a recipe, I will call you.
Great,
Yeah,
great. You can be
I
in.
can't make salmon though. I
You
can
can?
do salmon. Yeah, Salmon's no problem.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
the
salmon
recipe.
is delicious. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, shout out to Trader Joe's salmon. Like, it's so affordable. You just need to put it on tinfoil with a little everything bagel seasoning, a little butter, like cover the whole thing, put it in like oven 425, like 15 minutes.
She
It's
just whipped out a
friggin'
recipe.
delicious. And
That's
I don't
amazing.
cook, so that's
There we
like
go. Yeah, as long as it's not Atlantic. Okay.
I feel like I have so much
Your
to
mom
learn
has helped
about
you
my
right
my
now.
salmon
mom
now.
is hilarious in so many ways, and if you know her, you know, but one of the things that she'll dog on Atlantic salmon if she sees
It's
it in the
ridiculous.
store,
Yeah.
no, I need the wild caught Pacific Alaskan salmon.
Yeah.
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 Gabby, did you submit a recipe for the recipe book?
I
I
think you
have
just
not,
did.
but yeah. Did you get that? I'll write it down for you before I leave today. Yeah.
425.
But you have to
Bagel seasoning, I heard.
make it and
Yeah.
bring it in and
Yeah.
take
Oh.
a picture with your dish.
Okay.
I'm in.
I may join you then.
Yep.
I'm in.
hmm Maybe in
What
version
recipe
2.
did you submit?
I did mom's adobo,
So
Oh,
good.
yum. Oh my gosh, amazing.
which is funny because then I had to make her do a different recipe. But yeah,
You're like, no, I got that. That one's mine.
I did my mom's adobo.
It's
My
like pre-colonial. Is that
Not that one.
that one's delicious
That
though.
one is good. And that one like isn't really my recipe. That's Melissa Miranda, the chef owner of Musong.
Mm.
Jefferson and I took a cooking class through United Way from her, and I learned about pre-colonial adobo. So basically, it's the omission of soy sauce, which is the closest thing that Filipinos have to like a pre-colonial adobo. Is it's basically just vinegar, garlic, some fish sauce, onion, bay leaves.
I'm salivating
It
over here.
is really good,
That
and
sounds so good.
my
If
husband loves
you're
it too.
ever in the neighborhood on Friday, Carmen's mom cooks like lunch here, and so you should just stop
Oh,
by
wait, what?
and grab some on your way to wherever
Yeah.
you're going.
That's amazing.
The day switches up,
Um,
but she'll be here tomorrow making Philippine curry.
Well, I was gonna ask, do you promote that as like come and watch her do it so that you can learn? That'd be
It's
cool.
maybe an item at our October 10th
There we
event.
go. That sounds great.
So, what she did last year was a lumpia party. So you and your friends could learn how to make lumpia and eat lumpia. And it sold for like, I don't know, $800 or something. My mom was like, it was so cute. She was like, oh my God, someone paid that much money for lumpia. You know,
It's worth it.
it's really,
Yeah.
and she's fierce about her rolling too. You know, she's been doing it a long time, so she has got some serious rolling skills. So she's been uh preparing for a lumpia party, and I don't know, she told me she rolled like 400 or
Oh my
something.
gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's in high demand, so that's
It
good.
is in high demand, and every time she makes it here, I'm like, that's too much, Mom, that's too much. And she'll be like, with a wooden spoon, she'll be like, Carmen, I know people are gonna eat it. And then, of
Then
course,
it does. It gets
it's
eaten.
gone, and she gets to gloat on the
Yeah.
car ride home.
Okay, I'm coming next time. Call me, Gabby.
Tomorrow, Philippine curry.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Well, that's really exciting. And I would love to see what else we can do to get some of those cooking tools in here so that people can have that experience of learning how to do it and then be able to take the tools home too.
Yeah. So this recipe book that we've been putting together is just a collection of community recipes. So a lot of the customers here from the food bank have submitted their recipes. Um, and so we're hoping it'll be ready for the October 10th event. But it might not be, but it'll be, hopefully before the end of the year, and it'll be a suggested donation for folks to purchase. And um, if it's super popular, we can definitely do a second version.
Yeah, I would like one, please. I'll definitely be buying one.
What do you think makes White Center special?
Oh man. Well, just think about White Center Pride, right? If you are actually anybody of any age, but if you have Kiddos, so welcoming to the kids, right? When we brought, she was 5, this was last year, and she saw, I think, some of the drag shows that were happening, and she was so excited, and like her eyes were so just wide open, and she's like wanting to dress up, and like kind of she was just like enamored, and she loved that. This year she was just loving the bouncy houses that Tim's put out in their parking lot, and how fun was it to have all of the activities together there. But just I think that's one example of where you see like the arts and cultural like vibe of White Center really on display, and the small businesses who are making it quirky and fun and accessible. Um, I think that it's also this sense of like being a small community, right? It is definitely, it has a neighborhood vibe to it. And I think that the more that we can do to really invest in that and promote that and make sure that that is, that investment is seen as a complement to the local quirkiness and vibe here, is going to be helpful. I don't know how many people who are driving down Roxbury, maybe if people don't live in the area, realize that on one side is Seattle and one side is unincorporated Kings County. And so I think the more that we can do to really invest in the south side of Roxbury and really make sure that residents here have those direct investments, the more people will continue to be able to have that unique culture continue to thrive. I know I'm excited to bring our kiddo to more of the activities like bringing her to the skate rink, right? And I know she's excited and wants to go, so I gotta dust off those old skills. But there's like something at every turn to for people of all ages, and I think that's wonderful, um, including like the community asset that you provide here at the White Center Food Bank. I mentioned CMAR before. Just like, for example, we're having like a little mini retreat with our team, and we were like, okay, which library should we go to? We can go to Greenbridge, or we can go to the White Center Library just south of here, right? Like there's so much I think in terms of access for folks, but if you don't like spend time in the area, you might not know it. If you're just driving through Roxbury and you don't have the chance to like actually pull over and see some of the amazing food or arts and culture or community organizations, you might miss it. So we're here to promote that because you all have done the work, and anything we can do to elevate that and do additional investments, that's what I'm super excited about.
I love that. Have you brought your daughter to the Taste of White Center?
Yes. And but not when is it? Did it already happen this
Uh-huh.
year? Okay, because
June,
June.
end
Yeah,
of
we went
June.
last year, but
Good.
um, Tomo. I
Yeah.
need to get back there, man. That was
Did you wait
so
in
good.
line?
No, but I ate some of it from my team member who did the little rolls. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
it was
I didn't get
so
one of
good.
those.
I know. Yes. So yes, and also just for you all and anybody else who's listening, anything that you want us to put on our newsletter, we're always trying to put information out about events, activities, and we too try to feature an artist every other newsletter to make sure that local artists or galleries or festivals are really promoted.
I don't know if you can help with this, but we hit a little bit of a pain point this year with the Taste of White Center, in terms of being able to garner enough sponsorship dollars to be able to support more restaurants. And so the event has become so popular, but we're a little limited in how much food we can offer, basically, because our sponsorship dollars are a little bit stagnant.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in helping with that. I think another thing that we're trying to do in partnership with Public Health Seattle King County is reduce the fees or the frequency at which a vendor has to pay for an additional, space if there's a street fair or something like that.
Mm.
So if that's part of the issue as well, maybe there's additional things that we can continue to do in partnership to try to reduce barriers so that more food vendors can be at events like that. But happy as well to see what else we can do within our office for sure. And shout out to public health for the work that they're trying to do to actually reduce barriers, create increased communication in various languages so that more people can get through the process, because we know a lot of food vendors are out there just trying to sustain themselves and their
Yeah.
family, and how do we get people into the public health system so that they can be verified, and then the public health is improved as well. So lots of work happening in that arena. We just had that featured in our committee last week as well. But it's a national issue. The more people that are finding economic instability, the more people turn to, okay, what skill do I have? Okay, I can sell food,
Right.
and helping to bring people into the fold is a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good idea. I didn't mean to put you on the spot too.
The answer is yes.
I was like, oh, maybe I should just add that to the list of things I need to talk to Chris about.
Oh no, that's good. That's good. He's gonna love that his name came up 3 times in this podcast.
Several times in this podcast. Maybe he should be the
There-
next guest.
he would be awesome. Yes. So I'm gonna tell him that might be another feature.
Is there anything else you want to highlight?
Really just thank you for everything that you're doing. I know that we've talked a lot about the increased need right now, but to the extent that people can show their appreciation, I'm going to be there October 10th. I hope other people join us for the dinner and auction, and that it's not just one time, right? That this is an ongoing need for this staple in our community to have the resources and support. So looking forward to supporting not just the White Center Food Bank, but as you were talking about earlier, the ways in which we can improve the social determinants of health and economic stability and self-determination for folks in White Center. That's our big goal.
So if constituents want to stay in touch with you, how can they do that?
Just simply email me, teresa.mosqueda@kingcounty.gov. We get a real manageable amount of emails, I would say. So I typically am the one looking at those, and then the team will respond in partnership with me. So just email us if something comes up. We have a newsletter, as you mentioned, Teresa Tuesday newsletters that goes out every other Tuesday. And so if you want to be featured in that, your organization, arts and culture, you have an announcement that you want us to get out. That's another way that we like to do communication. And then we do District 8 days. So we have, White Center District 8 days. We have Vashon Island, Georgetown, Capitol Hill, downtown. I think we're going to Burien soon. And if you have a community event or organization that you want us to go to, let us know, and we'll try to fold that into our District 8 days.
Is there social media folks can follow you on?
Yes, please follow me. I think we are on everywhere except for Twitter. For the obvious
Yes.
reasons. And you can find me at CM Mosqueda, CMT for Mosqueda for Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda. And that's where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And you might get a response from her if you email her, because Jefferson and I have both been surprised when you respond back. I was like, what is she doing?
I'm happy to just encourage people to email us, and we have an awesome team. Camila Brown is our chief operating officer, who helps us get the meetings scheduled and runs public health. As we said, Chris Lampkin, deputy chief of staff, who's out here in White Center at the business association meetings. Melanie Cray, our senior policy advisor, who works on a number of issues, including Metro. So if there's issues that are coming up in that arena, let us know. And Aaron House is our chief of staff and incredible leader on things like the Parks Levy and comprehensive plan and housing. So it's appropriate last name. But do email me, and we're happy to share the opportunity to engage with community.
Awesome. Well, I was supposed to promote October 10th, cultivating community, but you did such an excellent job that I don't have to. But I'll still, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, so we have our fundraiser. It's October 10th at CMAR Chicano Museum in South Park, 6 to 5, 5 to 8. 5 to 9, sorry. 5 to 9. Come out. There's going to be some yummy food. All White Center vendors. We'll have a couple of auction items and a very special panel with you and Brianna Thomas as well from 34th District. So we're really excited about that. And then we're also having a little celebration here October 2nd, Thursday, October 2nd. 4 to 7, 4 to 6. Yeah. Sorry, I should have wrote this down. October 2nd, 4 to 6 here at White Center Food Bank. We're going to have a little party for closing our capital campaign
Yes.
and would love, of course, for you to join us, but listeners too, if you're available, come on through and celebrate with us on this huge milestone for our organization. And then if folks want to follow us on social media, we're at White Center Food Bank on all platforms except for Twitter as well. We don't have a Twitter either, but Randy does an excellent job
Mhm.
on the Instagram. So make sure you follow us there. And I can't believe that this is the end of our first season of the podcast. Thank you for going on this journey with us. This is definitely something we want to continue, but right now, we're going to take the end of the year for our team to be able to rest and recoup. And then starting in 2026, we're going to move to a quarterly podcast instead of a monthly and just see how that goes and how that feels. But if listeners are like, really disappointed that we're not back every month, please do share your feedback with us. We'd be more than happy to talk with you more often and more frequently. So that's going to conclude this episode and season 1 of Keep the Community podcast. And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Bye.
Bye.